Hello and welcome to 2021. I hope this is going to be a good year for you and for me. And this is the time of year when I start a new 52 Things project. And I have something a little bit different planned for this year, but I thought I would like to tell you about how this project came to be and what I've done over the last few years. So it all began near the end of 2014 when I was looking for a way to have a regular creative practice that would encourage me to use up some of the many arty bits that I've collected over the year, and I came up with this plan to create 52 books the following year, more or less one a week. If some weeks I didn't feel like making a book, I wouldn't, or I would make a really small, simple book. In other weeks, if I felt like doing something very complicated, I would do that. At the beginning of the year, when I started to put books into my box, I had a hard time picturing what it might look like at the end of the year, and I had decided that if at some point I didn't feel like making more books, I wouldn't worry about it. But by the end of the year, I was still enjoying the project, and I did in fact have 52 books. And I started to think about what I might like to do for the next year. I decided that I wanted to continue the practice of doing something regularly. And initially I thought I was going to make 52 art dolls. Art dolls are vaguely humanoid or animal forms created by artists. I started to work on my first art doll, but I had a really hard time finishing it, and I realized that my heart wasn't really in making art dolls, and if I couldn't even finish my first one, I was going to have a hard time finishing 52. So I spent some time reflecting on what it was that I actually wanted to do. And I decided that I wanted to work with fabrics, all kinds of fabrics. I wanted to sew, weave, knit, make felt, and that year I made 52 different fabrics that became this very long scroll. I photographed it once going down the front stairs of my house, and it went on and on and on, as you can see. And I finished that project at the end of that year. Then the following year, I decided that I wanted to get back into the regular practice of making a sketchbook, doing one sketch each week for that year. I had been sketching fairly regularly for several years, but I'd fallen out of the practice, so I wanted to start doing that again. And by the end of that year, I had this sketchbook filled with drawings that I had done throughout the year. The following year, I kept up the practice of doing the one sketch a week. And I have a second book here that chronicles that year. But I also decided to dive into my rather extensive collection of jewelry supplies. This was an interesting year because I learned some valuable lessons. One of the things that I learned is that I don't actually like making jewelry. I love the idea of jewelry. I love the way jewelry looks. But working with metal is not amongst my favorite things. I also managed to chip a tooth during this year when I decided to use my teeth to close a jump ring, a metal jump ring, and part of my tooth broke right off. Not something that I would recommend. However, even by the end of this year, despite all of those observations, I was not able to give up my collection of jewelry supplies. However, I don't work with metal anymore. I've discovered that I did, enjoy working with fibers, so I do a lot of fiber jewelry these days rather than metal. In 2019, what did I do? In 2019, I did another weaving project. In 2019, I chose a tapestry weaving project, and I wove 52 blocks that year. Some of the blocks, like the strips of leather, reflected what I was doing at the time. There are some woven paper, strips of fabric. I explored some techniques. I had signed up for a tapestry weaving workshop in Peru with a master weaver named Maximo Laura. And can you tell the difference between the weaving I did before I took the workshop and the weaving that I did after the workshop? Brought us to the end of 2019 when I made a decision that my 2020 project was going to be to finish 52 projects that I'd started. Little did I know how perfect that was going to be for that year. And I made another video sort of as a recap of my 2020 project. And you can watch that one if you like, if you want to find out more about what I did that year. And now here we are at the beginning of 2021, and I'm ready to start a new project. And actually this video is the first in my 2021 52 Things project. It's my intention this year to make 52 videos. And this marks a bit of a departure from what I've normally done. In the past, I've always done a project that was a deep dive into something I already knew how to do. And this year, I'm really starting from scratch. I'm starting to learn something new. And it's my hope that by the end of the year, I will, if not be good at making videos, I'll at least be better than I am right now. I'm starting out with the materials and tools that I already have in my house. All of my 52 Things projects have been focused around things that I already had rather than going out and buying new supplies. So that's my plan this year, is to at least start out with the things that I already have. So if you'd like to join me, I invite you to watch the rest of my videos this year.